Hello, students. It's Dr. Yu. We're now on to part 4 of how to write a good resume, and we are on one of the most substantial parts of a resume, the work experience section. This is the part that you really have to make sure is good because this is where any employer is going to look is under work experience. So we have to make sure that we have really good stuff in terms of description and accomplishment. So let's get to it. In this section, we're going to look at what job information do I include, because sometimes people put in too much or sometimes too little as well. So we'll look at that. How do I write good description? So you're going to learn there's 3 parts to work history, and we want to make sure that we describe our jobs really well. And then how do I display my accomplishments in my work history? Because we're going to want to embed those into the work history so they're naturally contextualized, and I'll explain all that when we get there. Let's start with job information. So if we look at this resume here, the job information is going to be the stuff right here. So everything that identifies when you show your work history, what and where you worked. So here's a bad example of job information. So if we cut this out for now, this is just description. This here is too much job information. A couple things that you don't need here that you can just cut. And then also, once again, think about space efficiency. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines just to say where you worked. That's way too much space that you're using up just to tell us where you worked and when you worked and what you did. So we really want to cut down on the number of lines we use just for this. So how do we do that? When you do job information, there's a couple things. There's only a few things that you really need to show. First, your position and title. And I'm a huge fan of listing that first rather than the company first. Because when you're selling your work history, you're not selling where you worked unless you worked for some highly prestigious company that's just going to really impress people. What you're really selling is your position at that company. So you always put the most important thing first, or the most powerful thing first. The most powerful thing in the job information is your position or title. So put that first and then show your company, which is the second part, the company name. So you would put the company name, and then all you need is the company's city and state. You don't put the whole address of the company on the resume. Now, on the job application, so the job application is the form that you fill out. Some companies make you do this when you apply at their websites. That's going to ask for your supervisor, all those things. On the application, you can put the address, but for the resume, it's just city and state. And then you want to put the month and year you started. Now, you can get away with just putting the years sometimes, but you really want to have the months because it can make a huge difference if you worked from somewhere from like January 2017 to January 2018 versus January 2017 to November of 2018. I mean, there's a whole lot of months there. So you want to have the month and year. So you just have to be ballpark. So if you can't remember if it was April or May, just close enough, just as long as it's the month and the year. And then the month and the year that it ended. So you're going to put the month and year that you started and then the month and year that you ended. Now, if you still work there, you just put present for month or year ended. And that's it. That's all you need for job information. Position, company, city and state, dates worked. So one activity we can do is you've probably have already written out your work history by now and have reflected on all the jobs that you had. So write the job information for your work history going back the past 10 years, because typically you'll go back 10 years on a resume. And then format the information to be no more than 2 lines of space per entry. So we'll go ahead and give you a second for that. At least do your most recent job for this workshop. You can do the rest on your own. Okay, so that shouldn't take a whole lot of thinking. It's just a matter of just writing down the important parts. So here are some examples. So if you look at this resume here, you have the job title nice and bold and big because that's the thing we're selling. We don't care about the company as much. We don't care about the city and state. The dates kind of do matter, But this is what I want people to see first is National Senior Account Manager. Then you have the company, city and state, and then dates worked. And then this is just description, which we're holding off for now. So this would be 2 lines. That's it. You see how this is only 2 lines? It's not 5 lines. Gets the point across really fast. Now, if you're really short on space and you want to be even more efficient, you can do something like this where you just do a one-liner. And here you just have the job title, company, city and state, and dates. And it's all one line. So then you save a lot of space when you go that route as well. The key is here, you want to be space efficient because you want to leave more room for description and even more room for accomplishments, because accomplishments are going to be what sell you at the end of the day for any job. Now let's talk about job description. So when we look at work history, and anytime you do work history in a resume, there's going to be 3 parts: the job information, the description, and the accomplishments. Now, when you do a functional resume, you'll have job information, and then you'll have accomplishments. You'll kind of skip description, and you'll just kind of have skills and such. So functional resumes are a little bit different, but we're going to assume that you all are going to do chronological and combination resumes. So we're going to stick to that format. So here's how you do description. Now, there's a lot of moving pieces to description, and there's a lot of theory that even goes into description that I will try not to go into too much because it can be a long lecture. So here we go. But when you write job description, there's a couple things you got to keep in mind. First, job description's role in the resume is to describe key responsibilities and skills that you applied at the job. So let's say you have your most recent job as bank teller. What you're going to want to do, at least in 1 or 2 sentences, is tell us what you did in that role. Now, some of this will be obvious. So the key thing is to talk about relevant responsibilities that speak to where you're trying to go. Because a bank teller does a lot of things, if you think about it. And so depending on where you're trying to go next, whatever your job target is, you're going to highlight the responsibilities that are most relevant to the next job that you're applying to. Because once again, you are what you emphasize. So you're going to emphasize the relevant skills and responsibilities of a bank teller to the position that you're applying to. Description is also written in resume speak. So that all the resume speak we did in the previous segment, that's all going to come back now because your entire work history is written in resume speak. So no articles, all those things. And thirdly, you're either going to do description in bullet points or in paragraph format. And once again, it's just like the summary where there's advantages and disadvantages to both formats. But either way, you're going to format it like that. And then when you do description, there's always that question, so what tense do I use? So if it's a past job, like you don't work there anymore, put everything in past tense. If it's a present job, put it in present tense. And just like the summary, don't put an S or ing, just put the verb for the job. So if you're a bank teller and you provided bank statements to customers upon request, that's the past. So that means you don't work there anymore. If you still work there, you would put provide bank statements to customers upon request. So that's the present tense, provide. Here's an example. So you have account manager. Now there's a couple other things to think about when you do description. So this is a paragraph format. You can bold or highlight your lead sentence. So this is a lead sentence. And what we go ahead and do is we bold that lead sentence. Because here's part of the idea. Description's kind of boring for the most part, but it's something you got to have because 1, you got to get those keywords in there. But then number 2, sometimes people do read them and you want to make sure that it's good no matter what. But if I were to bank on the speed read, so remember there's 2 kinds of readings that occur on your resume. First is the speed read. And if you pass the speed read, then you'll get the slow read. For the speed read, most of the time people read the first sentence and then they just kind of move on. So you want your first sentence to be a strong lead sentence that kind of gives a summary overall of what all of this is. So another way to think of this as like the headline, like this lead sentence, and all of this as story. So all of this is just story for this headline. Does that make sense? So headline plus story, the golden ratio of the job search comes back. So headline and then story here. Whatever your lead sentence is, make it good, make it powerful, make it summarizing, but make it strong. And then you can unpack the lead sentence with all of these statements. Now, notice everything starts with action verbs, has key skills in here: cold calling, sales skills, lead generation, consultative selling techniques, customized training. So we really packed this in with keywords, so that way he gets that credit when he applies for jobs. This was a client of mine, so got a job. So we want to make sure we're packing that in there. So here's what you're going to do for your next exercise. Pick a job from your work history. I would pick the most recent, but if for some reason you don't want to do that one, okay, just pick something. Write the duties and responsibilities that you held at that job in Resume Speak. Now, if you want to break that segment or that step down a little bit, here's another way to do it. Write the duties and responsibilities that you did in first person format. So I helped customers pick up items from the delivery, from the pickup station. I don't know. Some requirement, some responsibility. Okay. I helped customers pick up items. Okay. So write that out. All you got to do Resume Speak is drop the I. So put helped customers pick up from the delivery station or whatever, and then eliminate articles, and you're just about there. Then the other thing too, when you describe your job responsibilities, describe the why behind each duty. Because you could just say swept floor. Okay, that's not even it's not a compelling sentence. Think of it this way. When you say swept the floor, that's just description. If you want to make your description better, talk about not only what you did, but why it was important, or why it was significant, or for what purpose. Let me give you an example. Suppose you said, I shoveled snow. Okay, well, it implies that you can shovel snow. But how does that compare to, I shoveled snow so you could get your car out of the garage? I shoveled snow, or I shoveled snow so you could get your car out of the garage. I think the second one sounds better because it makes it important. It tells us why, not just what. Similarly, I swept the floor, so swept the floor. How about instead you say, swept the floor to prevent employees from slipping and maintaining safety. So now you're not just saying what you did, but the significance of that duty. If you don't know the significance of your duties, you have a problem in your job, and you need to get more invested in your job and figure these things out. But just think, what is it that I do and why is it important? And talk about both in your description. Also quantify where possible. So anytime you can give estimates like help 30 to 40 customers per day with daily, bank transactions. Okay, cool. Quantify. Anytime you can put a number somewhere in your resume, put the number in. Do ballpark estimates. If you're a server or you're a salesperson, talk about your daily sales quota. Quantify. Now, for description, you want to have at least 2 to 4 sentences for this position. So you want to have 2 to 4 complete thoughts about the job that you did. Sometimes it'll be as minimum, small as 2, probably as large as 4. I wouldn't go larger than 4 though. And then format it in either bullet points or paragraph. Okay? So we're going to do one job. I'll sit here and drink water now to ensure that you get enough time to at least think about this stuff and write it down. And then we're going to go over some examples. Okay? And go. Okay, if you need more time, pause the video. Try to get one job with 2 to 4 sentences of description for it, so then you have something to refer to as we go through examples. And it's a good way to get feedback too, excuse me. So here's some examples. If you want something very basic, here you have financial assistant or financial analyst assistant, and then you have the company. So 2 lines, very good, very efficient. And then you have 3 bullet points just on description alone. Okay, cool. So very efficient, tells us what the financial analyst assistant does, and they're complete sentences. Notice the sentences go across the page. What we don't want are just like 2-word bullet points. Swept floor. Helped with maintenance. Like, not good. That's a waste of bullet points. Like, if you want to really complete the idea, so just don't tell us what you did, tell us why you did it, or what was the significance of that. Like, why would you be assigned such a duty? Okay? So that's good. And then if you want something more in paragraph format, here's what paragraph would look like. Now, with this person, they had multiple positions at the United States Air Force. So this is their most recent position. So if you're in a situation where I had multiple positions within a company, what you're going to do is you're going to have one major header for that company that indicates the entire time you were there, April 12th to March 2019. And then you're going to break up into subsections. And so this is when this guy was a desk sergeant, and this is the time. So in this time frame of 2012 to 2019, he spent December 2015 to March 2019 as a desk sergeant for this department. Now you can see that this is paragraph format, and there you can see that he does the same thing. So good lead sentence, oversaw security and dispatch systems for entire base. It kind of summarizes basically what the job does. So if I'm a recruiter in a rush, if I only read the first sentence, at least I get the gist of everything. And then did some quantification here. And then short sentence, that's okay though, because he has it in paragraph format with some longer sentences. And then trained over 50 individuals, quantified things, very good. So this is what you want for a description. You want to have a good lead sentence. You want to quantify, you want to give complete thoughts. You just don't want to say what you did. You want to say why it was significant. Now, we're going to talk about probably the biggest thing. This is the linchpin of resumes. This is what makes you different from everybody else. This is like the core of resumes. And this is also one of the hardest parts of resumes because you really have to use your brain to make this work and to be successful at this part. And so when I did professional resume writing, what I would do is I would get a client and I would say, okay, we got to do an interview because I have to learn everything about you and your job search and like your whole entire work history. And so I would sit there, and it would usually take about 2 hours of just sitting with clients and asking every question about their work history, making them go back 15 years. What did you do here? What are you proud of? Was a very common question I had to ask of clients. Or what are some key results that you reproduced? Like, what were some things that went really well? And so a lot of clients, like, everyone thinks they have to be humble, and they're like afraid to toot their own horn. Resumes are not the place to be humble, okay? So don't be humble in resume. So there you go, you're getting clapped at again. Don't be humble, okay? So take credit for stuff. If you did something, take credit for it. Okay, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But yes, you got to have accomplishments, okay? So I'm clapping that too. Have accomplishments in your resume. So, but I don't know if I have accomplishments. Okay, I know. So here we go. There are a lot of things that you can put as an accomplishment for your resume. All accomplishments they're just proof of proficiency at your job. So everybody has accomplishments. If you have held a job more than 3 months, you probably have accomplishments, okay? If you don't have any accomplishments, if I go through this list and you still cannot think of an accomplishment, then you should be fired. Like, I just don't know what else to tell you. Like, you need to quit your job or you need to be fired and you need to find something that you're actually good at. Okay? So everybody has accomplishments. That's all my clients. I never had a single client, and I had hundreds of clients who didn't have accomplishments in every job. Okay? Accomplishments are just proof of proficiency at what you do. So here are some examples. Lots of examples. Number 1. Awards and formal recognitions. Did you ever get an award for anything or formally recognized for anything? You could be recognized in a newsletter. You could have gotten a trophy. You could have gotten even just employee of the week, and you don't get anything. You just get called employee of the week. That's still an award. That's still a formal recognition. Put that down on your resume. Employee of the week. And then you can put the time frame and then explain why you were employee of the week. Like, how did you get it? Did you get nominated? Okay. That's the kind of stuff you want to put on your resume. Now, before I go any deeper into accomplishments, I got quite a few of these. One thing you should be doing throughout your career, whenever you have a job, is you should be keeping a journal of all this stuff that I'm about to show you. So anytime anything that you think would be an accomplishment or would look good on your resume happens, you should log it into a journal. Now, we're not talking about like Nickelodeon's Doug, where you have to be like, dear journal, blah, 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 every day, that kind of thing. Just when what you do is something good happens, just write down the date, what it was for. And then when you update your resume, hopefully you update your resume like 2 or 3 times a year. You just go back to your journal and then you find all your accomplishments that you journaled throughout the year. It's really hard if you don't write this stuff down, because then when you do update your resume and it's been years, you forget a lot of this stuff, and then you end up underselling yourself, and you do not want to undersell yourself, okay? Because resume is not supposed to be humble, okay? So you're not supposed to be humble. Don't undersell yourself. Keep the accomplishments. Okay. The second example of accomplishments. Everybody should have this. So there's like, if you don't have this, like this is where you should be fired or you should quit, one or the other. Measurable quotas, commissions, or productivity. So if you work in retail, what are your sales figures like? How many people do you help? How much money do you produce or generate in your department? All of those things are measurable quotas, commissions, and productivity. If it's a good number, put it on your resume. Say, hey, I generate about $500 in sales per day. Great. Put that on your resume. Put that under accomplishments. That's proof of proficiency. That shows that you're doing your job and you're doing it well. But I screw in tires at a factory. Okay, how many tires do you screw in every day? What's been your highest number? How efficient are you? How many screws do you do? Do you do it quickly? Do you do it slowly? Okay, talk about that. I screw in tires, 100 tires per hour. Okay, great. Put that on your resume. See, you're very efficient. See? So everybody has, these are all basically KPIs, key performance indicators. Every job has KPIs. Worst case scenario, if you have no idea, I don't know how to measure my productivity, ask your boss, what are my KPIs? Your boss will be very impressed with you because you're going to be the first person to even ask this question. And then they can sit down and tell you these things. And then that's how you know how to rate your accomplishments and how to display them. Okay, being asked to take on more responsibility. If you're ever asked to take more responsibility, put that on your journal and then put that on as an accomplishment on your resume. Nobody takes on additional responsibility because they're incompetent. People get asked to take on more responsibility because they're reliable and they're good. And that's all stuff to be proud of. So put that on your resume. Being promoted. If you got promoted at your job from assistant to manager, or even like from assistant team lead to team lead, great, put that on your resume. That should be an accomplishment because that meant you were good at your job and you got more responsibility as a result. Did you earn a bonus? Did you get a bonus one time for just doing an awesome job? Okay. Now, Christmas bonus probably doesn't count unless it's like based on performance. Don't be like earned Christmas bonus because our boss was nuts, no, but like you earn a bonus because you like overperformed or something. Cool. Yeah, do that. Excellent performance evaluations. So when you start working at companies that do annual or quarterly, I mean, every company's different how they do it, but your company should have some kind of cyclical performance evaluation that occurs at least once a year. If you get good evaluations, talk about your evaluations. Talk about the good scores that you got. But I got a 4 on this and 5. Okay, so talk about the 5s. Then don't talk about the 4s. Talk about the 5s. So you got a 5 for collegiality? Good, put that on your resume. Earn perfect score at a collegiality in annual performance evaluations. Great, beautiful, love it. Put it on your resume, okay? So highlight the good stuff from your performance evaluations. If you don't get performance evaluations, ask your boss, hey, can I get a performance evaluation? Ask for one. And then once again, your boss can be impressed with you because you actually care about your results and you care about your productivity and you'll probably get a raise. You're welcome. Give me 10%. Okay. Praise and acknowledgement from customers, coworkers, or supervisors. Anytime somebody pats you on the back, okay? If customer says something good about you, in customer feedback surveys, if they say, John was really helpful, copy and paste that, put that into your journal, then put it on your resume, okay? Praise and acknowledgement. If somebody emails your manager and says, John was awesome, keep that email, take that praise, put that on your resume. So anytime people say you did a good job, remember it, write it down, put it on your resume. Succeeding in a duty or project assigned. Were you assigned to some project? It doesn't matter what the project, it doesn't have to be glamorous, just any project. It was a cleanup at the lake. Okay, great. Did you do well? Did the cleanup happen? Did you successfully pick up trash at the lake? Or did you just sit there? Okay, you successfully picked up trash. Okay, is the lake cleaner now? Good, put that on your resume. So Maybe you led the project. Maybe you led the lake cleanup. Okay, successfully led lake cleanup that resulted in collection of 200 pounds of trash and a cleaner looking lake. Cool. Put it on your resume. Anytime you're successful at anything, put it on your resume. And then significant contributions. Did you take initiative on something that just was significant? Maybe you saw that your company really needed a calendar in the break room, because you need a calendar in the break room because people kept forgetting dates. Okay, create a calendar for social events on own initiative that increase employees' participation in social events or something like that. I'm just kind of making it up as I go along, but something like that, something significant, something that matters. Okay, so everybody has accomplishments. Do not come to class and be like, I have accomplishments. Yeah, you do. If not, you should be fired. One or the other. So either you're lying, or you really shouldn't be having a job then. And then you need to think about getting another job where you actually can have accomplishments. But everybody has accomplishments. And if not, ask your manager. Ask your supervisor. No excuses for not having accomplishments. Okay. So here's an example of a front desk clerk accomplishment. So I'm just a front desk clerk. Okay. Well, here you go. So awarded pay raise by manager for recognized customer service skills and ability to sell rooms. Successfully sold executive suites ranging from $850 to $1,000 per night. Now, is this like mind-blowing, amazing accomplishments? No, it's like this part of his job description to sell executive suites. But the fact that he was able to do it, let's put that on there. Hey, they're expensive rooms and he sold them. Cool. All right. So there you go. Those are accomplishments. He's proud of those things. So if nothing else, accomplishments are things that you're proud of that you think the company should be awed by too. So even if you're like, well, I really want to put this, I'm really proud of it, but put it on there. Just put it on there. Okay. I'd rather you put on too many accomplishments than none at all, or like just one. Okay. So when in doubt, make it an accomplishment. Let's go. Here's another example. A process analyst. Okay. So really like sounds boring and all that stuff, but great. Even then, she still did some stuff. She created a database that tracked and ensured accurate accounts receivables and customer information on like her own initiative, which was really cool. So she did that. She established a system to track individual sales performance and award percentages accordingly. She was assigned that, but she did it. She did it successfully. Okay, put that on your resume. It went awesome. It's great. I was given this task and I succeeded. There you go. I'm proud of it. Design forms that streamline. So, okay, she saved the company money or saved the company time. Vacation time requests, on-site visitation requests, and vehicle condition reporting. And she served as liaison between the company and Bolivian government. She was one of my friends' overseas brides. They're cool. They're great people. And, so she helped with that. Okay, now, here's the thing. Another way to think about accomplishments is this. Anytime you save time or you save your company money, put that on your resume. If you save time, if you save money, or you save like energy, put that on your resume. You should always be thinking about how can I do those three things? Put that on your resume, okay? That's what you should be thinking when you work anywhere. Now, how do I write accomplishments? So we spend a lot of time just on what are they and brainstorming them because that's the most common thing. I have with students like, I don't have any accomplishments, No, you do. Yeah, you do. Even if you've only been in one place for 1 year. I know I keep talking about this, but I don't want anybody coming to class and then not having accomplishments. So, okay. So, verb, noun, and results. When you're writing accomplishments, that's your formula. Tell us what you did, with what, and what the results were. So, you significantly increased sales, okay, results by, suggestively selling new hotel rooms. Okay, suggestively selling new hotel rooms. So you did results, significantly increased sales, suggestively selling hotel rooms. Okay, great. You can do it the other way too. Suggestively sold hotel rooms, increasing results by $200,000 per year, something like that. So verb, noun, results. So you can do results, verb, noun, or verb, noun, results. So it's like addition, it's like commutative property, all that stuff. But I would say it's often better too, sometimes to front load your results. So actually doing results then verb plus noun is good because if people speed read, you want them to see the impressive numbers or results first. But it depends on the sentence. Some sentences come out awkward if you try to put the results first. But if I can, when you put the results first, that's called front loading the results. So if you hear me say front load your accomplishments or front load the results, that means phrase the sentence so the results come early and then you have the verb and the noun. But you can backload results too. So it's a commutative relationship. I mean, I guess it's not fully commutative because I don't know if you can flip the noun and the verb. Okay, well, I take that back. Sorry, math people. But yeah, you can front load results at the beginning, or you can put results at the end, which you call backload or back end results. Okay, but yeah, either way, as long as you have these three things, that's what's critical with accomplishments. And then it still has to be in resume speak. So we're not done with resume speak. Resume speak doesn't go anywhere. We still have that. And then yes, so I got ahead of myself, front load and back load results. Another thing. So once again, I don't have any accomplishments. Okay, here's another way to do accomplishments. So we have positive accomplishments and negative accomplishments. Now I couldn't think of a better phrase because positive and negative always have these connotations, like one is good and one is bad. So that's not what we mean in this case. So positive accomplishments are things that you brought about that are good. So increasing sales, reducing time, reducing costs, increasing team productivity, all those things, winning awards, all of those are positive accomplishments. A negative accomplishment is not something that is bad. A negative accomplishment is not, so a positive accomplishment is something going really good or being positively good for something. Negative just means it wasn't bad. It didn't go wrong. So positive means it was good. Negative means it didn't go badly. So a negative accomplishment might be, process 100 orders per day with no mistakes. Okay, so you process 100 orders per day with no mistakes. So the negative accomplishment is, at least I didn't mess up. So you could be in the situation where you work a job like accounting, for example, and there just isn't, or like you could be a legal clerk. It's like, but what's my productivity? Well, you have to deal with sensitive documents. Do you ever mess up? No, I actually am perfect. Okay, then do a negative accomplishment. I've crafted 1,000 documents with no mistakes. That's a negative accomplishment. So it's just saying nothing bad happened. Positive means all these amazing things happened. Negative just means nothing bad happened. Nothing went wrong. So you can always phrase it as a negative accomplishment in that regard. Okay? So negative doesn't mean bad. Negative just means nothing bad happened. Does that make sense? Okay. So here's what you're going to do. And this is the big activity. If you can do this well, you will master resumes and you'll be amazing. And then you can be a professional resume writer too. 2 to 3 accomplishment statements for the job that you wrote the description for. Okay? Now, what I want to see is verb, noun, results, okay? Or you can front load them and you can do results, noun, verb, or however, but either front load or back load your results. Don't put them in the middle. And then write it in resume speak. I gave you a ton of different examples, a lot of ideas as to what an accomplishment could be for your resume. So just got to pick 2 or 3 of those for the job that you picked, okay? Think KPIs. What are my key performance indicators? How do you measure somebody who is good at my job? How do you know what's the difference between somebody who is good at my job and somebody who is bad at my job? And how am I that person who is good at their job? Whatever it is. Even if it's elephant feeder at the zoo. What makes a good elephant feeder? Okay? Are you poisoning the elephants? Are the elephants trampling people because you gave them too much caffeine? I mean, I don't know. Do elephants drink caffeine? I don't know. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff. All right. So take a minute or two and think about this. Write this stuff down. We're going to look at some examples too. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's look at some examples here. Here we have an entry for a job in somebody's work history. So once again, we have the job information, 2 lines. We have the description in paragraph form. Now, this is a lot of description, but we pack in a lot of keywords. And then we have the accomplishments. Now notice what we did. We made the accomplishments really stand out by putting it in its own little box and gray and all that stuff. And then notice we front load. So consistently placed in the top 7 highest grossing sales managers for 11 consecutive years, generate over 9 million in sales to date, exceeded quarterly quotas 36 times. And then you see how this all works. Prospected 1.6 million sale in progress with major retail company. We quantified, we front loaded, and we put everything in resume speak. And we made it in full sentences. It wasn't like placed in top 7. Like we completed the idea. We made it a full sentence. When you do your work history on a resume, you really want everything to stretch across the page. You don't want to have orphans. So this actually is bad here. We don't want to have this orphan. So see, I caught my own mistake while I'm teaching it and recording it and stuff. Cool. All right. So like I probably would have shortened this sentence. And so that way this wouldn't take up a whole line just for this one word. So avoid orphans, people. Avoid orphans. I mean, orphans, like this is an orphan word, not actual human orphans. I'm talking about like word orphans where they're just one line words. Okay. So yes, love human orphans, of course. Okay. So that's what we're trying to fix there. And then also, this is another thing sort of related, but this is an endorsement. So you can put these on your resume. If somebody wants to quote you, or like if you have a quote, if somebody has a quote about you that's positive, you can put that on your resume, and it's just a little way to spice things up, which is good. Next, you have desk sergeant. So we looked at this resume a little bit earlier, and then you can see we have the 2-section job information here. We have description and paragraph. Like I said, description is kind of boring, but so that's why we put in paragraph, because we don't want it to take up all the space, but it's there if you need it. And then it also has keywords. But then we bullet point the accomplishments because we really want those to stand out. And what we did was we did a little headline plus story where we did the headline in bold and then the story underneath. So there's no rule saying your accomplishment statements have to only be one sentence. If you want to do 2 or 3 sentences for one accomplishment, that's fine. Then I would probably just do something like this, though. I would bold the headline, the lead sentence, and then explain the accomplishment in the story. Now, this brings up the question, so why don't I just have an awards section in my resume? Here's why. Because when you have an awards section, you don't have context for all the accomplishments. You just have one award for blah, blah, blah. When and under what capacity? When you have your accomplishments in your work history embedded with the description, now all of them are contextualized, and I can better make sense of what exactly this accomplishment is and at what point in your career does it relate to. Plus, it saves a lot of space because you don't have to make that whole other section just for awards. So you really want to embed your accomplishments into work history. Now, when we talk about additional sections, if you have awards that don't fit your work history, then you'll make another section for awards, and then that's going to cover all the other ones that don't fit work history. But you definitely want to contextualize your accomplishments within the specific job and work history. So we covered a lot in this segment. We looked at what job information do I include, how do I write good description, and how do I display my accomplishments. This is the work experience section of a resume is the core section. Every recruiter, every HR person looks at this section. They might skip summary if they're in a huge rush, but they're going to look at work experience. This has to be good. This is the part where this is the difference between 2 weeks on the job market versus 2 years on the job market. I mean, it's that important to get your resume right and to get it good, because it makes a huge difference, not even just for getting interviews, but also salary. You know, people look at your salary, like people look at your resume and they're already thinking how much this person is worth. So you got to get this good. You got to get this to the best it can be. In part 5, we'll talk about education and the other sections. Now that you have work history and summary, and we'll pick up from there. See you in part 5.